In my final week of a month-long trip to Northeast Syria, I wanted to say a special thank you to Patriot Voices members for praying for me, for following my travels, and for supporting Patriot Voices. We've been on the ground here with our partner, Freedom Research Foundation, visiting all through Northeast Syria and meeting with religious communities and learning about how they have recovered from being under ISIS, what conditions were like just 3 years ago were the worst in the world for religious minorities, and now it's the best conditions for religious minorities in all of the Middle East. So after the Syrian Democratic Forces, our partner on the ground, would liberate an area from ISIS, what they would do is set up self-governance, and it would eventually become the Autonomous Administration of North and East Syria. And this self-governance has produced these amazing conditions. So I wanted to understand how the government worked and how it could embed these rights at every level of government. So I was able to do a deep dive in several regions here and really even got to see the government at the lowest level, the commune level they call it, with 100 to 150 families. They have a co-chair, a man and a woman, and they have all these committees, and they have co-chairs on the committee, and the committees like, education, healthcare, women. They obviously have a co-op for business, doing business together, and go through all these different topics. And these positions are elected as the co-chairs, and then they also have a sub-district, district, canton, region, and then up to the autonomous administration level, where again they have co-chairs with a council that makes decisions. So it's really interesting to see how this democracy, where people elect these to these positions, how people have a say in their government, and because of that, they've been able to ensure these amazing conditions. I was able to meet with Christians in Kobani. These Christians are Kurdish Christians who are converts from Islam. Nowhere else in the Middle East can you see people allowed to change their religion from Islam to Christian and be given a permit to build a church. We were in Tapka, which is one of the Arab areas, where the Arab leaders there were telling us how they want Christians to come back. Most have not returned. They have 7 families that have returned, but after the Turkish invasion, it stopped them from returning because they're afraid of the instability that has brought. So what they did is they preserved 25 houses of the Christian families that have left. So if they do decide to come back, their homes are still preserved. The 4 churches that were destroyed by ISIS, also their land has been preserved. We visited one of them, and they showed me the tunnels underneath that were used to torture, kill, and rape. On that same church, they lifted up a steeple of a cross over the destroyed church to send a message to Christians that they were welcome to return. So this is the kind of conditions we're seeing here. There is ISIS still present. In fact, ISIS was almost completely destroyed before Turkey invaded, and the invasion caused all sorts of instability that allowed them to rise back up. So, I know the U.S. coalition is here on the ground, partly for that, with a mission to defeat ISIS. I'd say to pray for the people of Northeast Syria, pray for the U.S. government to make the right decision and policy changes. They don't need nation building here. They don't need us to stay here forever. What they need is for us to lift sanctions, do the recommendations that the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom has recommended, where I serve as a commissioner, although this trip was in my own personal capacity. They've recommended to lift sanctions on this area of Northeast Syria. They have 80% of the oil, the most fertile land in the Middle East. They don't need nation building. It's a conservative's dream. What they need is for us to let them develop their own government, their own economy, so that they can be this refuge for religious minorities. We've also recommended that we give political recognition to this government. We treat them like a government, not independent government, but a state in a future Syria. And also to pressure Turkey to withdraw. In the areas Turkey has invaded, we're seeing the same crimes we saw under ISIS, and the international community should not be accepting that. And then we also recommended that the U.S. demand the inclusion of the Autonomous Administration of North and East Syria in any political solution for Syria. Currently, they're not at the table. So here you have a government that has these amazing conditions, that's been successful with very little help from the outside community. And any discussions of a future Syria, they don't have a say in it. In fact, they may not even be included. So these are really great recommendations. We're hoping the U.S. government will take them. We have seen some movement. We know the U.S. government administration now cares deeply about religious minorities. This is a place that could be a long-term refuge for religious minorities and for tolerance. It could be a model for other governments in the future. So thanks again for supporting this trip, and I just ask you to continue to pray for the people here.